Imagine being so rich that when you travel through a country, you accidentally destroy its entire economy just by spending your own money. Imagine being so wealthy that historians 700 years later still cannot calculate exactly how much you were worth. Imagine owning more than half of all the gold in the entire world. This was not a dream. This was not fiction. This was the real life of one African king. His name was Mansa Musa. And today on Forgotten Empires, we are telling his full story. Sit down, because this one will change how you see Africa forever. The year is 1312, West Africa. A man rises to power and takes control of the Mali Empire, one of the largest and most powerful empires on earth at that time. His name is Mansa Musa, and Mansa means King of Kings. The Mali Empire under Mansa Musa stretched across what is today Mali, Guinea, Senegal, Gambia, and Niger. It was an empire so large it would cover half of modern-day Europe. But what made Mansa Musa truly different from every other ruler in history was not just his land, it was his gold. The Mali Empire sat on top of the richest gold and salt mines ever discovered, and Mansa Musa controlled all of it. Every gram of gold that came out of West African soil belonged to him personally. Historians today estimate his total wealth at somewhere between $300 and $400 billion in today's money. For comparison, Elon Musk, the richest man alive today, is worth around $200 billion. Mansa Musa was worth double that. And that is a conservative estimate. He was not just the richest man in Africa, he was the richest human being who has ever lived on this planet. In 1324, Mansa Musa decided to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, a religious journey that Muslims call the Hajj. But this was no ordinary journey. Mansa Musa traveled with an entourage so large it is almost impossible to believe. 60,000 people accompanied him across the Sahara Desert. Soldiers, servants, scholars, and singers all walking together in one massive procession. 500 servants walked ahead of him, each one carrying a golden staff weighing 6 pounds of pure gold. 100 camels followed behind, each camel carrying 300 pounds of gold dust. He brought so much gold with him that people who saw his procession thought they were dreaming. When he passed through Cairo in Egypt, the entire city came to a stop. People lined the streets just to watch him pass. And then Mansa Musa did something that no one expected. He started giving his gold away. He gave gold to every poor person he met. He gave gold to mosques. He gave gold to governments. He gave gold to strangers on the street. He was so generous that he gave away and spent an estimated 15 tons of gold during his journey. And that generosity, as beautiful as it was, caused a disaster. Here is where the story gets truly extraordinary. When Mansa Musa flooded Egypt and the Middle East with his gold, he accidentally destroyed their economies. You see, gold was the most valuable thing in the world at that time. Its value came from the fact that it was rare. But Mansa Musa brought so much gold into these countries and gave it away so freely that gold suddenly became common. Everybody had it. When everybody has something, it loses its value. The price of gold across Egypt and the Middle East collapsed completely. Businesses that depended on the value of gold lost everything overnight. Trade was disrupted, markets crashed, prices went haywire. It took the Egyptian economy 12 full years to recover from one man's generosity. One African king, on a religious journey, accidentally caused an economic crisis that lasted over a decade. No army, no war, no weapons, just gold. The world had never seen anything like it, and it has never seen anything like it since. But Mansa Musa was not just rich, he was brilliant. When he returned from his pilgrimage, he brought back architects, scholars, and poets from across the Islamic world. He used his wealth to build something that would last forever. He transformed the city of Timbuktu into one of the greatest centers of learning in human history. The University of Sankore in Timbuktu, built under Mansa Musa, had over 25,000 students at a time when most of Europe had no universities at all. Scholars came from Arabia, Persia, and Europe just to study in Timbuktu. Over 1 million manuscripts were written and stored there, books on mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, and philosophy. While Europe was living in the Dark Ages, Timbuktu under Mansa Musa was one of the most educated and advanced cities on Earth. He also built the famous Jingureber Mosque, which still stands in Timbuktu today, over 700 years later. Mansa Musa did not just spend his wealth, he used it to build a civilization that the world still remembers. When Mansa Musa died around 1337, he left behind an empire, a legacy, and a story so big that European maps of the world featured his image for over 200 years after his death. On a 1375 map called the Catalan Atlas, made by European cartographers, Mansa Musa sits at the center of Africa, holding a golden orb so large it fills the page. European mapmakers, who did not even like to acknowledge Africa, could not ignore this man. He was too big, too powerful, too wealthy. Mansa Musa proved to the world that Africa was not a poor continent waiting to be saved. Africa was the richest place on Earth, and it produced the greatest king who ever lived. That is the story they did not put in your history books. That is the story Forgotten Empires is here to tell. If this story blew your mind, share it right now with someone who needs to know this. Subscribe to Forgotten Empires and turn on your notification bell. Next week, we are uncovering the story of the most powerful African empire that Europe tried to completely erase from history. That video is going to be special. I promise you that. See you there.